Hi there. Welcome to the Coach Craig Kenneth Show.
I'm your co-host, Coach Victoria.
And I am your host, Coach Craig Kenneth. And we are a caller-driven show where we talk to you guys about mental health issues, dating, relationships, problem with your coworkers. Let's not do the joke.
I always do my little head tilt.
It's a good bad joke, as we acknowledge. We can't resist the urge to do that joke towards each
No.
other. But we like to talk about a lot of different things here. And if you guys are ever interested in calling and talking with us, go to askcraig.net, go to the form that says CK show and fill out the little form and request to be on the show. Fill out your info. It's super easy to do. Just it takes a couple minutes.
Yeah, we're curious to hear what you got for us.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about getting back together with your ex, but it's not always easy. You have to remember that there are issues that cause the breakup, and those issues have to get resolved. This is why we're always telling you guys no contact may bring your ex back. But if you're not working on yourself and figuring out what went wrong, the issues are going to be there again.
Right. In relationships, you're going to be tested. There's going to be challenges.
Yeah.
So if you're repairing a relationship, sometimes you have to manage those challenges a little bit differently. So we're excited today because we actually have an update on a situation that we've talked about previously.
That's right. We have Ashley on the line, and Ashley was going through a situation with her boyfriend where he had been following a bunch of women with on OnlyFans, and he had been married before and had a mistress, and the mistress was still friends with him on Instagram. And so if you want to see her first episode, it was something like my ex came back when I started dating again, or something along those lines. If you want to hear that the context, because a lot has happened since then, right? Ashley, a lot has happened.
A lot has happened since then, yes.
Okay, so where was it when last we talked?
The last we spoke, you two recommended me to really think about staying in the relationship because it seemed like it was starting to become one sided and that I was doing a lot of the compromising and he wasn't on his end. For example, he was still friends with his mistress on Instagram.
That's right.
He followed like more than 1,000 accounts probably, and each account on Instagram was linked to an OnlyFans account on the bio.
Yeah. And we joked about he should have done that on his Finsta.
Yeah.
Right, that's right. We did. That's right. And I
Like
and
a
I
normal
started to
human
doing
being.
right. I started to doing some anxiety driven things I probably wouldn't normally do. And then in between the time my ex of 9 years had came back in the picture.
Yeah. And he was wanting to work things out again.
He was wanting to work things out again. He didn't even care if he seen me with my new person, right?
Yeah.
He just wanted to repair things.
Wow. And that's what we say happens a lot, you know?
Yeah.
My ex
Right.
came back when I moved on.
Exactly. And I didn't do some of the I was doing the work, right? And then I felt myself slipping into behaviors from my past relationship dynamic. And then it totally like sizzled towards the end. And we had broken up for it was about 18 days. I went no contact. And then this person contacted me. So not my ex, but the person we're about to talk about, the one I've been with for like probably about a year now.
Okay,
Okay.
so you guys had a breakup
We did have a breakup
since the last call.
since the last call, right? It was probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the call. It was just getting it was just getting to me some of the things that were really bothering me that weren't getting resolved. Things were getting swept under the rug, and then I felt like there was contempt between us and maybe resentment. Maybe both of us were thinking about our exes. And I remember you saying I had a session with you, and you said something along the lines like, "How truthful can we really be speaking about our exes?" Because we do have a very good, we have open conversation, probably the healthiest I've ever had, and I would never even have these conversations if it weren't for the channel and some of the things I learned about myself, right?
Yeah.
And how self-aware I am. But because of the channel and the things that I have, all the videos and whatnot that I've listened to. So yeah, so we went no contact.
Okay.
strictly no contact that day. It was in the middle of the night. It was like a Wednesday night. I had to go to work the next day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I left at like midnight, and I grabbed all of my things. He asked for the key back, and I did the most. I was like begging and pleading, like
Oh no.
Well, I
that's
want
how
to
much
know
I didn't do the work.
what was the
Okay.
final straw there? And was it that you had decided the relationship was over or that he had decided? What was the last straw?
So he decided, and it was like something, it was basically had to do with the things that were bothering me that I guess weren't being resolved, and it was like just bubbling inside of me, and it was something along like the place that we have a mutual, that's where we go, our community, right, not whatnot, right? So I seen something that bothered me, and it was him staying late, and it was later than I was staying, and it seemed like he was staying for another person, right? And
Ah,
I
got it.
started getting flashbacks of my ex and doing the
Mm.
same thing.
Yep.
Like, is there a reason they're staying? I know they started following each other, like all these things, right? And my insecurities got the best of me. I brought it up in the shower that night, and we blew up. Like both of
I
us blew up.
remember, I
Oh
remember us
man.
talking about that.
Yes.
In the
Who breaks
shower's
up in the
wild.
shower?
Just turn it all the way cold and
Because
walk
I
out.
said, I said to her, how did you lose the argument when you were naked in the shower?
I
That should have been an
know.
easy victory for you.
That's how much it was. It was pretty bad. And right, and he was just like, yeah, this isn't gonna work. This is gonna work. This isn't gonna work between us. And then like I immediately was like, I went into like survival mode. I just was like, give us a chance. What, like, oh, the most begging and pleading. I'm not proud of it, I've done so well in my past relationships. After I saw the channel, I never begged and pleaded because of the channel. And then this time, everything just went out the door. Everything I learned, everything I seen. So yes, we broke up. I think it was like the first week of August, and then the last week of August, I stayed true with no contact. I even disappeared, went radio silent, didn't
Mhm.
post anything on Instagram, really, nothing like sad at all. It was just like happy selfies, if anything, or like a nice view. And then I just worked a lot, and I didn't go to that mutual place that we shared. Like,
Sure.
and that was
Okay.
it. And then he had contacted me through text message.
Okay.
And it was like an indirect direct. It was like he wanted to pay. He's like, I went to the place where we do our eyebrows, because we get our eyebrows threaded, and I showed him my lady, she's really good. And he's like, I paid for your stuff because you were, and I was like, you didn't have to do that, thank you, I appreciate it, through text. And he was like, well, you were so excellent with me, or something like that. That doesn't bother me, you were so excellent with me. And I just liked it, and I just left it as is. The
Yeah.
next day at night, so that's day 19, I guess, of no contact, he was like, or no reach out, right, is what you teach it. He was like, I really miss the conversations we would have, like, in the bed. And I just liked it. And the next morning I just said, me too. I was very chill, just one notch below him, like you said. And I did post a few, maybe I posted 3 times within the week, and he liked every single one. He was like the first one to see it. And I wasn't doing the same. I didn't want to do the same because I was still very hurt, and I didn't know where he
Yeah.
was going with this. And then that next day, so day, I guess, 20, he was like, do you think that this is something we can repair, or is the boat set for sail, or something like that? So I was like, well, I think it's better if we talk about this in person. And then we just scheduled, like you said, no text, no like lengthy text messages. So with the text
Good.
was just, yep, just okay, this is when we're gonna see each other. And I let it go for like 5, 6 days. So it's like a weekend. So we get together during the weekend. And I stayed not going to that mutual place that we have, because I wanted to make sure the next time we see each other, it's intentional, not because, oh, would you look at that? I see you
Sure.
in the place where I've always seen you.
Good. You were doing good.
I was doing great. And then he invited me to come over. He was like, you still have some things that are at my place. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll get it. And then I grabbed it, and he was like, well, do you want to watch a movie? So we watched a movie, and then it was like getting late, and I set a curfew in my head. I'm like, I'm leaving at 10 o'clock sharp. And it became 10 o'clock, and I was like, oh, I gotta leave now. And he was like, you know, it's late. You can spend the night. I live like 45 minutes from him.
Mm.
He was like, you know, you can stay the night if you want. And I was like, no, I'm okay. We have not even talked about ourselves.
Yeah,
Like,
it's good to set boundaries. I'm honestly surprised that he had called the final shot for the breakup and not you. I really thought you were gonna say, and I dumped him, and this is how I did it.
I guess I'm so impulsive and I do those things regularly. And in my last relationship, it's kind of like I wasn't being authentic to myself. I was doing it for a reaction. And so this time I know I was trying to not slip into my old ways and make sure I think things through, at least sleep overnight, you know.
Yeah.
But since then I had noticed he had unfollowed about 800 accounts on his
I'm
Instagram.
surprised he was following about 800 that were questionable to begin with. Yeah.
I wonder how much his income went up or his bank account.
I mean, right? Like, and
I
then
wonder
he
why he
had
could afford browse. He could afford browse for everybody.
that, and he had unfollowed the mistress and him were not following each other anymore.
Okay.
So I noticed that. I never brought it up, of course.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when we did get back, we started talking again. I came over. So I came over for 3 nights. And on the fourth or third night, I spent the night and we finally had talked about, you know, because I didn't want to bring up anything. I let him bring up the stuff. And then once he brought it up, he was like, we both realized that, you know, he was like, you know, I was very happy with you. You were so good to me. And sometimes, because he was talking to his therapist, like, what are the pros and cons to the relationship? There's no pros, there's only cons. We argue about everything. She's always asking if I want to be back with my ex, if I'm thinking about his ex, because it was his ex-wife. They were together for 8 years, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and we went through similar things with our exes, so we like related to that as friends in the beginning. So, right, things were great. That was the end of August. Since
Okay.
then, which is very scary, we have made vacation plans for Thanksgiving. And this past weekend, he finally was like, because we had talked about this in December, we were gonna go see his family. And it was gonna be a lengthy vacation. It was gonna be about a month long. So on
Ooh, that's a
Thanksgiving,
long
That
vacation.
is a long
yeah,
vacation.
That is
right.
a really long vacation.
For the both of you or just for him?
So he had made the ticket for himself, right? And I had known that, I had a feeling that he did. The plan originally before the breakup was that I was going to go with him and I was going to pay the deal was I'm going to pay for the ticket for Thanksgiving. We're going to see my family for a week.
Hmm.
And then in December, you're going to pay for that ticket and it was going to be a month long because of his line of work. He has so much leave during that time. So
Mm.
I don't know, we brought it up this past weekend. He was like, you know, what are you thinking about it? Like, are you going to be able to ask for the days? I'm like, yeah, ask for the days. I'm going to get him approved. And he was like, I can buy your ticket. And I was like, I don't think the ticket's going to be available though for like your flight. And he was like, immediately he did it. He bought the ticket. He upgraded to comfort because he knows I don't like coach. My back hurts. And so, and, and it was great, great day, right? We were going to go get our eyebrows done together in his car. We don't normally drive in the same car together, right? So we went to the mutual place that we like to go and do our thing, exercise and whatnot. And we're on our way to do the eyebrows. And I see a call, and it is the mistress calling through, I guess, Instagram audio, right? At the time, it looked like a regular call. And I was like, he went and declined it immediately. And I thought to myself, like, okay, like, am I not gonna bring this up? But this is definitely gonna bother me. So I was like, oh, I didn't
That
know
would be
she
hard
has
not
you,
to bring up.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
I was
Honey, your
like,
mistress is calling.
I was,
how do you
I
even
was,
handle that?
I don't even know what it
Hello? Why didn't you answer?
Oh, I would like, part of me was like, I should have went straight for the green button, but I,
Let's call her back.
I
Let's call her back.
literally, no, I said that. I said, why don't you call her back? I didn't know she had your number. He's like, she doesn't have my number. It's through Instagram audio. And I was like, you didn't block her? He's like, I thought I blocked her. And I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, are you guys still talking? Why don't you call her and see what she wants? Like, maybe it's an important thing. Maybe it's an emergency. And I, like, half of the mind, I was like, What would a secure person do at this point, you
Probably
know?
jump out the car.
I think a
Oh,
lot of people would not feel secure in that moment. That's
yeah.
that's going to set off a lot of people. Even
Mhm.
secure people are going to be like, hold on, your mistress is calling.
It's something that would raise a
Exactly.
lot of alarms.
I mean, because this woman cheated with him on his wife
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. So there's no reason to think that she wouldn't be willing to do that when
Mm-hmm.
he's with you,
Right.
Those
right?
were
Those
exactly my thought
behaviors
process.
compromise her integrity for, any relationship, unfortunately, because that's what you know of her.
Yeah. Okay, so what
Exactly.
happened? That would lead to a big fight, I think.
That was this past Saturday, and that was the same day where he bought the ticket, and now we have these plans. And I just remember a video that you have, and it was like always like before a vacation happens, sometimes like there's an argument, and it's because there's so much closeness about to happen. And I feel that, I felt that big time. So I tried to pretend. I didn't want to talk too much about it, but I was like, we talked about it in the car, and I was like, he's like, "Do you want me to block her? I'll block her." Like, I have not talked to her in a long time. I'm like, it is understandable. We were not together. If there was a time where you needed to talk to her for whatever reason, I understand. Like, we were not together. We don't owe each other any
Oh,
explanation.
but my heart hurts just even hearing you say that, because I could see that you're trying to like set up an environment for him to tell the truth, because you're already not trusting what he's telling you. You're saying, "Come on, it's your girl. You could tell me."
You can tell me anything.
And that
Right.
hurts me to hear, because you know not to just expect honesty, and that's painful when you have to start saying those things. I would understand, and you could just tell me, because now you're almost like bargaining for the truth. That's not something that you should have to bargain for in that way in a relationship. I know
Yeah.
you're
That
trying
is a
to
good
save
point.
face, but oh.
And we don't have a honey, your mistress is calling video out there. So
Yeah.
you couldn't refer to it. Hold on, I'll be back in a minute. Just gonna okay.
Seriously. Right?
Oh,
Let me go
hi.
listen to a video real quick. Right. So
That's
You know,
brutal.
I've been in his car like prior to, right? We've drove in his car. This has never happened before, even when they were following each other. So of course I'm heightened. So we went the day we did eyebrows thing, and he was definitely like stalling to come back to the house because I have a pattern where I'm like, I'm gonna grab my things and I'm gonna leave whenever there's like a little bit of uncertainty.
Mhm.
So we talked more about it, and I came clean about when we were not together. I was like, well, tell me the truth because I understand nobody's gonna call out of nowhere. Because I was like, when we were not together, I would never have done it with you being with you, but I reached out to my ex to give him the last of these things that he had asked for a while ago. And they're personalized items, they're like trophies that have his name on it. He had asked me about it in March, and I was like, no, like, and I reached out to him to like tell him also about my dog had just passed away, right? And we had shared that dog for like more than half of that dog's life. So she had just recently passed away. He didn't know about that. His dad was not doing well. So it was like a good like whatever meetup in a very neutral spot. And I knew that I had no feelings to be back with him, you know. I will always have this like love for my ex, but I'm in a place where I'm in such a healthy place that is not attracted to me anymore, the way he
Yeah.
was, the way he is. So I was heavily just being honest and truthful, and then we talked about it, and then he said that he spoke to his ex over the phone too, and they spoke for hours. And then my point being was that nobody's going to call out of nowhere, because my ex didn't call out of nowhere. I didn't call, it was through text message, right? So I'm like, still, like you said, Coach Victoria, I was bargaining for the truth.
Mhm.
And he
It's a
swore up.
trap.
Right. He swore up and down. He was like, nope. He showed me the call log. He was like, it says Instagram audio, because I was convinced that it was his phone
Mm.
number that she called, because it didn't look that way on CarPlay, right? It's
Sure.
different than Instagram audio.
Yeah.
I don't call people through Instagram, but I guess
Mhm.
whatever, right? So that was that. And then I was like, I promise we're going to talk this through, and I'm not going to bring it up again. Whatever. The girl just deactivated her Instagram, and I like noticed it that night, and I was like, I said I wasn't gonna bring it up again, but look at that. So that deactivated her Instagram because she didn't like answer from you. So that just shows how much she is bothered by this. And it's like, I don't know. I just felt like whatever. And he was like, I don't want anything to do with her. I haven't seen this person for like almost 2 years. And yeah. And then yesterday, now I'm heightened. Now things on the phone which I've never, with him, I've never been like, oh, who is he texting her? I've never been like very vigilant. For example, he's on the MacBook and he's doing schoolwork and I'm helping him. And now I'm afraid to look at the screen because I'm afraid of a notification of seeing something and I don't want to go looking for it. So I shared with him yesterday that she reactivated the Instagram, right? And of course I noticed that because I'm like already in this like cycle. And I shared with him like I don't want to be in this cycle, and he was very understanding and like very calm the entire time. And now I guess I'm coming to you to like if how to move forward, because he said the thing like I don't have control over people who call me. I'm gonna block her, right? So she can't reach out. We're not following each other on Instagram, and like those are all true. Is I don't know about the blocking. I'll have to, you know, I'll have to just like take his word for it. But
I mean,
just how hmm?
the truth of the matter is he could unblock and block as he wants, if he really wants to talk
Yeah.
to her, you know? And so he
Just
has to make the,
what is he getting out of her? She lives like miles. She lives on the other side of the continent. Like, what would he be getting out of her? Is just my question, right?
I think that's a great question. I mean, given that she had been his mistress, she was a big part of his separation and divorce, I assume, as well. So I think in some way they can be connected on that level of, we had this affair. We know that just part of affairs is the fact that it's taboo and there can be an excitement and a mystery and a thrill with that. I think that's an excellent question, though. What is he getting out of maintaining that relationship? And is he aware of how much that relationship is compromising his relationship with you? Because I hear you saying, oh, well, I'm going to try not to bring it up again because you're trying to manage your anxiety around this thing. At the same time, anybody would anybody would have this amount of caution. Anybody would say, wait, I'm not fully satisfied with these answers quite yet. And I could see there's that part of you that wants to know what's going on because you want to know the truth. You want to know if he's being shady or being dishonest. But then there's that other part of you that's afraid of pushing him away by, you know, by wanting to know more for
or
sure.
causing drama when
Right.
there's no reason for it or there's nothing behind it.
Right.
So it's not easy to find that balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, a mistress. Like I said earlier, she has no problem with him being in a relationship and having an
Mhm.
emotional affair with him. Their whole dynamic, or at least most of it, was a secretive dynamic,
Mhm.
right? So they're used to having a secretive dynamic. So he could feel like, it continues to have the secretive dynamic with her, where he's talking to her when he's not with his partner, like he did to his wife. Now he could be doing it to you. And so it's like, I know what you're capable of because what you've done, and now I'm afraid you're going to resort to those things again if we're struggling or having some issues, or
Mhm.
maybe you just get something out of it.
Right. And it's hard because I could see here you're struggling to trust him. And that's kind of the difficult truth about trust is that he could show you his Instagram. He could give you the password to his phone. He could, block her or, make a boundary very clear. But ultimately, trust is going to be what he does when you're not watching, when you're not looking.
Yeah.
That's going to be what that trust is. And do you trust him as a person? Do you think he has the integrity to say no and to set boundaries if you aren't on his shoulder? That's the type of trust that's really needed for a relationship.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. I try to be I sometimes I try to put myself in the other person's shoes. Like, I reached out to my ex and whatnot
Mhm.
during the time we were not together because I told him I would never have disrespected him while being in the relationship and reach out on my end, right? But let's say my ex since then, right, calls me out of nowhere. I can't I mean, I could have controlled that, right? I could have blocked him, but I mean, the truth of the matter is he's not blocked. I don't feel the need to block him because he's not contacting me out of nowhere. And even if so, I could handle it and be like, I don't even want to be with my ex, you know, but I do care for him as a person. We know each other's families very well. He had said his dad wasn't doing very well, and that like that, you know, that hurts. So let's say he were to call me out of nowhere while I'm in the car. I can imagine like how he would feel or whatever, and how would I get out of like, but then I was like,
Sure.
maybe I would have answered. Maybe I would have answered so that I have nothing to hide because I do not have
Yeah.
anything to hide. Right.
Good point.
He kept on saying, right. And I said, why don't you answer it? Answer it. Call her back. He didn't want to do that. He was like, I have already not. He's like, I do not want to open that can of worms. She made my life like a living,
Had he
whatever.
been transparent and you saw that, it like say that it was an authentic, he called back and he's like, hey, I know have she says, hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time. I just wanted to say hi, blah, blah, blah. You can hear it.
Hmm.
You're like, all right, so there's nothing to hide here.
Yeah. And
Yep.
I think the situation would be different had he not been following her this whole time. I think the fact that you had brought up
Mm-hmm.
concerns in the past and he was like resistant to it, and now this happens makes it a lot more suspicious had he said, however long ago, oh yeah, I don't really talk to her. That's no big deal. I can remove her off my following list. Because he's kind of defended that relationship to you and now she's calling, that would make me a lot more suspicious.
He would
If
he would say things, and that you're completely right. That makes. I'm
I,
so sorry. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying if I was in your shoes, I would feel a lot more suspicious because of that.
Exactly.
Had he
Right.
answered
That's
the call, you would have a lot more information, right? Had he just answered, but he panicked and he declined it.
Hmm.
But had he
yeah.
answered, and I think a lot of people would panic and decline it. Let's be honest, because you'd be like, "What?"
Okay.
Es- Especially if I don't know. I think you'd be worried about like how it would upset who you're with, regardless of if you talk to him or not.
Hmm.
But had he answered it or called back and said, "Okay, I'll call back," I don't know what she's going to say, but it's going to make a big difference if she says something like, "Hey, I know I'd reached out of nowhere, blah blah blah." Then you're going to be like, "Okay, they hadn't talked."
Hmm.
But if she's like, "Hey, how's your day? What's going on?" And acting like they've talked a couple days
Right.
ago, you're going to be like, "Yeah, what's up here?"
Yeah.
Exactly. He kept
She's
on
just like,
saying
"I
that.
love being a mistress so much. When I was a little girl, I always dreamed about being a mistress, and you have made my dreams come true."
He kept on saying like, you think like, don't you think I'm happy? Like we're so happy. Like, like why would I want to ruin it? Why would I go out of my way to ruin it with somebody who's not even here? He's like, have I not shown you like, and this time around it's much better than it was the last time, our last relationship like dynamic. This time it's so much better. I can feel the connection, right? And like how open we are with the phone being up. But I'm like, I'm not naive with it all. Like nowadays, social media, um, telephone brands or whatever make it so easy to be shady and to hide things,
Sure. Yeah.
And and then yeah, so I understand that point, like that part, and like but yeah, so now just moving forward, because now his parents are coming next week. I'm going to meet the parents for the first time. They have not visited him for years, for years, for years. So this is like a big thing, and like they're gonna meet my parents, and then now he's talking about moving again next year when his contract is done. He'll have to move to another state, right? So and it could be within
Yeah.
a
So
year or 2 years, and he's like, yeah, yeah,
you
I have
really
to
need
really
to
be
make
sure about
sure
this.
things would be stable to pick up and move across the country, which is
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure what you would have to do. You want to
Yes.
make sure that you guys are rock solid because you'd be leaving your friends and your family and career
Yeah.
for, and you can speak on this because you
Mhm.
you did this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that is tricky. You're putting a
Oh,
lot of your investment on a person when you're deciding to move. And yeah, like you had said, you're also, moving yourself from your support system. So if there was a situation where he was being dishonest with you and you had to face that, think about who would be around you. I would be really careful in this situation. And I think how you feel now, just this, okay, this call happened. It's making me have doubts. I'm not sure. I'm feeling suspicious. All of this is still information. You are feeling ambivalent. And that's an okay place to be. You can say, okay, I can look at it from one perspective and give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's true they haven't talked for a while. Maybe she just noticed, the mistress just noticed that he unfollowed her and is wanting answers just in that moment. And it was coincidental. And you can also have that part of you that says, this feels shady. I'm not 100% sure about this. What if they had been talking? What if he had been dishonest? I'll tell you one thing that I've learned is that the truth always finds its way to surface. This might be part of that surfacing, or it might not be. And you might be in a moment where you're saying, okay, I need more time to gather more information before I can feel really secure. I know that hypervigilance can be something that's really difficult to manage. Um, a comforting thought that I also believe is true is the truth will come out at some point, whether that is something that you feel intuitively, whether that is something that's presented to you. I know for some people they do their due diligence, in terms of their research.
Due diligence.
Due diligence. Some people do, some people do.
I'm
I
pretty
love
sure
that.
Ashley can do
Write
some
that down, write that
due
down.
diligence here.
So there's that side of things, but I think ultimately, you will be okay no matter what happens in the situation. I think what the worst case scenario isn't necessarily him lying to you, but it would be him lying to you and then you choosing to stay and experiencing that over and over and over again like it's Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, that is a good point. That is a good point. Okay, so now I'm in a place where obviously if you're in a relationship, you ought to trust them, because if you don't trust them, then why be in the relationship, right?
Well, I
So I'm
mean,
in a place
yes,
where
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
but you also want to keep in mind that he has had an affair for a long time. You know he is capable of it. She did call him. He was talking to all these OnlyFans people, or he followed them. We don't know what he was doing, how
Mhm.
much of his income was going to that. But
Mhm.
you got to be careful with him because he's a risk. He may be more risky in those kind of behaviors than other people, right? Because he
Mhm.
has done those things and you know it for a fact.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Well,
So
that's where I'm at then. And then my ex has every now and then he'll like send like a message and like I'm waiting patiently to see you. And I guess I haven't been completely honest with him. I just kind of like am cordial enough to be like, I don't say much back at all. And that was like maybe a week and a half ago or something.
now let me ask you this. If
Hmm.
it was reversed, what would you want him to do? Got to put it on you too, right?
Mhm.
What would you want him to do? Oh, look at the fear in her eyes.
I don't know. That's right. I didn't think it totally through because I just thought about the scenario, right? Putting
You
myself in
know.
his shoes. What would I
You
want him to do? He's so like this guy's so nonchalant. He's very cool, calm, and collected. He's very like he would have taken it like exactly what I would have said. I would have been like, oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to him for a while. And he would have been like, okay. He's not somebody, he says, I'm not somebody who's gonna control you. I'm not gonna restrict you. And I don't want to feel that way. I was restricted in my last relationship. She was super jealous, whatever, right? I'm like, yeah, but is it like you do things that make her jealous? But whatever. That's beyond the point. But I guess in his, I would want him to trust me. I would want him to trust me
know,
because it's
but
true.
you would
I
want
even if my
him
ex contacts me,
you would want him to say, "Hey, I'm with somebody new right now," and set up a boundary and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So you
You
got to
know
do the same. You got to set a
what?
boundary with your ex and say, "Look, I'm with somebody else right now."
Mhm.
And
It's
we
true.
can't keep talking. Just you got to have put yourself in his shoes too, because then he could be like, well, your ex is contacting you, well, what does he want?
Yeah.
right?
That's true, yeah.
So you gotta,
Yeah.
look at that and set a boundary with your ex and say,
Yeah.
look, I'm
You're right.
dating somebody new. We can't keep talking. I have to respect that relationship. I wish you all the best. Got to do that.
Yep.
It's fair, right?
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I have to do that, and I have yet to do that. Although he has seen me with this new person before, prior to this breakup.
Hmm.
But maybe since I reached out to him and gave him the rest of his things and was just like telling him about the dog and whatnot, maybe he thinks that, we're not together anymore, and he doesn't know since that we've gotten back together. So you're right. I don't know why have I not done that yet?
Well, I think probably part of you is doubting that it's going to work out
Yeah.
with your current boyfriend because of obviously all the issues we've talked
Mhm.
about. And so you're afraid that if you do decide to want to go back to your ex, it will ruin it with him.
And you'll lose that opportunity if
Yep.
there is one.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like keeping your options open because you're not, it's like you said, 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
But that would be the same thing as him keeping his options open with the mistress and not telling her that I'm in a new relationship. I can't keep talking to you.
And it can be a scary thing to set up that boundary, but I'll say if you are able to do that, not only does that confirm in your mind that because you're able to do that, then that also exists out there. There's other people that are also able to set boundaries with others in their life. So it causes you to accept that less in your life, meaning you would accept that less from a partner. If your partner was not setting boundaries with other people, with their mistress, with other women on Instagram, then you would say, well, I'm able to do that. I wouldn't do that to you. And therefore, I'm going to keep that standard for myself and for whoever I choose to date. So, I think sometimes we can fall into this trap of, well, they did this, then it's okay for me to do
Yeah.
this. And then by doing that, we end up tolerating a lot more BS. And then we end up in ourselves doing a lot more BS. So it can be challenging, but sometimes even if you're feeling doubtful, you still got to move through with the values, and with the principle there.
Yep.
Wow, that's valid. Yes. I appreciate that. I really appreciate you two talking to me. And I don't take your advice lightly. I really do try to imply and continue watching the videos, and so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for keeping the channel. I love the channel and like making this show. I think this is a really good addition to what you already have.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, and hopefully, you can see things more clearly and reflect upon all this and realize, like, even though he's making some progress, we still don't want to ignore the past or what he's capable of. We don't want to let that control every day, but you certainly do want to keep it in mind, especially when you have a mistress reaching out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
Hmm.
building that confidence of whatever happens, you'd be able to handle it, you know.
Yep.
I know that can be kind of that worst fear of, is he going to do the same thing that he did with his wife to me? Is he going to betray me? Is he going to lie? And that can be something that is an all-consuming fear. But you also have a right to live your life and to enjoy the relationships that you're in. If you're given that information or exposed to that information or find that information out, then you would know what to do. And that in itself, I think, is a level of confidence to say, okay, well, what will I do if this person is cheating or lying? Well, I'll be able to step away. So I think that's a huge element to it, is building that confidence to know that you can deal with it and setting your expectations. I mean, he already knows that this is putting you on edge, so he would be well aware that conversations with his mistress are not something that's okay with you in this relationship.
Yeah.
So that's a clear
That,
boundary to me.
yeah, I think most people can figure that one out.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
what you do want to see is similar to what he did with unfollowing those 800 people. You want to see him doing things on his own accord. Of course, it's important to voice your needs and your wants and your boundaries, but we want to see, is he receiving that? Is he doing those things when you're not watching? Is he still protecting your relationship? So all these things come with time. I would say, you're about to spend a lot of time together on these vacations. Just be observant. Just be observant. You don't necessarily have to, dig and go full FBI mode, but just observe and the truth will surface.
I
Uh,
like that. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. It was good to have you back on the show with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Likewise, thank you so much.
You got it. Well, maybe we'll get another update.
I'll keep you posted.
That sounds great.
Thank you.